on the reasons for withdrawing from the world. My dear friend, let us embark on a journey through the dance of existence, where the vessel we inhabit, the body, holds both affection and responsibility. In the rhythmic interplay of life, I confess the body's guardianship is entrusted to us. Yet, let us not become enslaved to its every whim. The body should not be our master. Rather, it is a companion in the cosmic dance. Feel the currents of life, my friend, and sense the rhythm that transcends the confines of our bodily existence. The too great love for the body breeds restlessness, burdens us with unnecessary cares, and leaves us vulnerable to insults. Virtue, the sacred dance partner, is often underestimated when one holds their body in undue esteem. Cherish the body, yes, but be prepared to surrender it to the flames when reason, self-respect, and duty call for such a sacrifice. As we navigate this cosmic dance, let us not live solely for the body, but recognize that our existence transcends its boundaries. To live as if we could not exist without the body is to lose sight of the grand symphony of life. In the pursuit of balance, we must avoid becoming slaves to our bodily concerns and judgments. Consider, my friend, the fears that accompany our earthly voyage, the fears of want, sickness, and the troubles arising from the violence of the stronger. These fears, like waves in the ocean, ebb and flow in the dance of existence. The dread of our neighbor's ascendancy creates a tumultuous performance, accompanied by great outcry and uproar. Yet, the silent fears of want and sickness approach stealthily, lacking the grand spectacle of their violent counterpart. Picture, if you will, the parade of fear's prison, cross, rack, hook, and stake that cast a shadow over our cosmic dance. These instruments of cruelty, displayed in a grandiose manner, evoke terror and overpower those who might withstand the quiet sufferings of hunger, thirst, ulcers, and fever. It is the spectacle that often sways the human spirit, not the subtler challenges of life. To shield ourselves from the chaotic energies of the cosmic dance, we must first relinquish cravings akin to those of the mob. In the dance of life, rivalry begets strife, and possessions that can be easily snatched away invite trouble. The wise traveler, empty-handed, may journey in peace even along infested roads. Consider, too, the emotional currents that flow through our existence, the currents of hatred, jealousy, and scorn. Navigating these waters requires the wisdom to observe a mean and avoid becoming objects of scorn due to the fear of jealousy. Wisdom, my friend, becomes our guiding star as we navigate the intricate emotional landscape of the dance. Take refuge in the philosophy of existence, for it becomes a calming melody in the cosmic symphony. Philosophy, when embraced with calmness and moderation, allows us to mind our own business and contribute to the harmony of the dance. Now, you might question figures like Marcus Cato, who actively engaged in public affairs to avert a civil war. The wisdom of such engagement is a subject for contemplation. Consider the Stoics who, shut out from public life, retreated into privacy to improve existence and frame laws for humanity without incurring the displeasure of those in power. Perhaps, my friend, there lies wisdom in such withdrawal, away from the grand spectacle of political turmoil. In conclusion, the dance of life is unpredictable, and no one can guarantee absolute safety, just as a person who observes moderation cannot guarantee perfect health. Vessels may perish even in the safety of harbors, and dangers abound on the open sea. The wise person, mindful of the reasoning behind their actions, does not let fortune pass sentence upon them. The dance begins within our power, and while fortune decides the issue, we remain the masters of our own cosmic journey. Extend your hand, my friend, for the daily gift, and let me leave you with a golden insight. He who needs riches least enjoys riches most. This profound saying, attributed to various luminaries, invites us to contemplate the nature of wealth. The pursuit of riches should not be accompanied by anxiety. True enjoyment arises when we cease to be stewards and learn to dance with the cosmic flow, using what we possess with grace and wisdom. On brawn and brains, or, my dear Lucilius, let us dance upon the parchment of these ancient words, weaving them into the tapestry of our understanding, embracing the wisdom of the old Romans in the light of our own contemplation. The message they left us in the ink of tradition, we shall transcribe anew with the brushstrokes of our shared insight. Consider, my friend, the age-old Roman custom, a tradition that lingered like a gentle breeze through the epochs. If you are well, it is well. I also am well, they would scribe at the commencement of their letters. Let us, too, adopt such a greeting, not merely inquiring about physical well-being, but extending our curiosity to the well-being of the mind. If you are studying philosophy, it is well. For true well-being, the elixir that harmonizes the orchestra of existence, resides in the pursuits of the intellect. In this symphony of life, we are urged to prioritize the health of the mind, recognizing it as the primary source of vitality. Without philosophy, the mind languishes in sickness, and even the mightiest body becomes a vessel adrift, powerful yet resonating with the chaotic strength of a madman. As the ancients recognized, the sort of health to be cultivated primarily is the health of the mind. Let not the pursuit of physical prowess overshadow the more profound cultivation of the soul. The folly of our age, my dear Lucilius, lies in the ardent endeavor to forge robust muscles and broaden shoulders, as if strength and wisdom could be measured by the girth of sinews. Heavy feeding may indeed fortify the body, yet such gluttony becomes a shroud, stifling the spirit within. Limit the flesh, release the spirit to allow the symphony of existence to unfold. Contemplate, my friend, the inconveniences that befall those enamored with the pursuit of bodily perfection. Their exercises, life force expended in the pursuit of fleeting gains, render them less fit for the severer studies of the mind. The sharpness of their intellect, dulled by the indulgence in heavy eating, and their servitude to masters of the vilest stamp, those who dance between the oil flask and the flagon, reflects the dyspeptic nature of their existence. There exists, however, a simplicity in the profound, a subtlety in the grand. Embrace the short and simple exercises that tire the body rapidly, saving time for the more significant pursuits of the intellect. Running, brandishing weights, and jumping a cosmic ballet where the body and mind intertwine, creating a harmonious dance. Yet, my dear Lucilius, always return swiftly from body to mind. The mind, a beacon of consciousness, requires exercise both day and night, nourished by moderate labor. And fear not the passage of time, for the cultivation of wisdom knows no season. As the years unfold, let the mind ripen, each thought a vintage of profound understanding. In the dance of existence, the mind must have its respite, a change that unnerves not but unbends. Picture a litter ride, a gentle rocking that does not interfere with study. Read, dictate, converse, or listen, let the mind flow like a river, meandering through the landscapes of knowledge. And as you walk, let the steps be a meditation, a rhythmic pulse that aligns with the heartbeat of the cosmos. Voice culture, my friend, is not to be scorned. But heed this: do not succumb to the folly of scales and specific intonations. Let not the voice be a puppet manipulated by mechanical exercises. Instead, let it be an instrument of the soul, rising and falling in harmony with the spirit's rhythm. Shout, my dear friend, when the Spirit moves you, and let your voice be an expression of the cosmic symphony. In the grand theater of life, where we are both actors and audience, let the voice not be a mere exercise, but a conduit through which the Spirit dances. Raise a hubbub. Let your voice resonate in the cosmic chorus, and when you rein it in, let it trail off gently. For the purpose is not to give the voice exercise, but to let it give us exercise, a reminder that we are but players in the eternal dance of existence. The fool's life is empty of gratitude and full of fears. Its course lies wholly toward the future. A splendid adage, wouldn't you agree? But let us not play the game of pointing fingers, saying, "Oh, it is Bar and Izio who embody this folly." No, my friend, the jester in the spotlight is none other than ourselves. We, the architects of our destiny, often plunge headlong into ventures spurred by blind desires, a cacophony of pursuits that may harm but will never satiate our innermost cravings. Pause, Lucilius, and let the currents of gratitude wash over you. Reflect not only on the ambitions ahead, but turn your gaze to the rear, where the shadows of surpassed aspirations linger. Gratitude is not a mere nod to the gods, but a dance with the realization of how many souls you have outpaced. The race is not against others, for you, my friend, have outstripped the most formidable opponent, your former self. Fix, then, a limit, a boundary beyond which desire dare not tread. Cast away the treacherous goods, for their allure is strongest to those who yearn for them, not to those who have embraced their transient embrace. These possessions, if substantial, would weave a tapestry of contentment. Alas, they are but sirens luring sailors into the storm, leaving them thirsty for more. Shed the fripperies, the trinkets that parade for show, and ponder the uncertain tableau that the future holds. Why beckon fortune to yield when the true art lies in curbing the cravings within? Why, indeed, should one strive to amass wealth and forget the ethereal nature of human destiny? Today, my friend, is the culmination, the zenith, the apex of existence. If not today, it is near the last. In the grand theater of life, let not the pursuit of illusory gains be the protagonist. Rather, become the playwright of your narrative, where the script is penned with the ink of contentment. Crave not the fleeting treasures, but savor the present, for in this moment, the symphony of existence plays its most enchanting notes. The future, a nebulous mist, is not a demand we levy on fortune. It is a canvas on which we paint the strokes of our serene acceptance. On philosophy, the guide of life, Lucilius, let us embark on a leisurely voyage through the profound realms of wisdom, akin to a river flowing gently through the valleys of enlightenment. A man's life, a true symphony of existence, finds its melody in the harmonious study of wisdom. It is not merely about survival, but about thriving, for in the embrace of wisdom, life transcends the mundane and becomes an artful composition. Imagine, my friend, a canvas painted with the hues of a happy life, where the brush strokes are the strokes of wisdom brushing against the canvas of our existence. Even in the nascent stages of this artistic endeavor, life becomes endurable, if not outright joyous. Yet, let this notion not merely be a fleeting thought, but an enduring reflection, a mantra to be chanted daily, echoing in the corridors of your consciousness. No need, dear Lucilius, to shower me with an abundance of words. I sense the progress you've made. Your expressions flow not as empty rhetoric, but as streams of authentic sentiment. Yet, in this moment, hope flickers for your progress, much like a flame awaiting a gentle breeze. Trust, my friend, like a delicate blossom, requires time to unfold its petals fully. I implore you to mirror this attitude within yourself. Extend trust cautiously, with a discerning eye. Gaze not into the reflective pool of self-assuredness too hastily. Scrutinize, examine, observe the terrain of your progress with the precision of a naturalist studying an undiscovered species. Now, ponder, have you ventured into the depths of philosophy, or have you merely skimmed the surface of life's vast ocean? Philosophy, my dear companion, is no theatrical production seeking applause. It is an intimate dance with the realities of existence, a symbiotic relationship with life's verities. Philosophy, as the architect of the soul, molds the very foundations of our being. It is not a pursuit for momentary respite or amusement, but the guiding force steering the ship of our existence through the tumultuous sea of uncertainties. Without it, we become vessels adrift, tossed by the capricious waves of fate. A skeptic may pose the question, what use is philosophy in the face of fate's decree, God's cosmic symphony, or the capricious waltz of chance? Yet, philosophy stands resolute as the guardian of our being. It beckons us to dance with God's design, facing fortune with unwavering resilience, and pirouetting gracefully amidst chance's unpredictable choreography. Let us not plunge into the abyss of determinism or the labyrinthine dance of the unexpected. Instead, heed my counsel, do not permit the fervor of your spirit to wane. Embrace it ardently, nurture it daily, so that the impulse coursing through your spirit becomes a masterpiece, a symphony of wisdom harmonizing with the very fabric of your mind. In this symphony, each note is a nuanced insight, each melody an expansion of the profound points we ponder. Epicurus, that sage of old, whispers a timeless truth in our ears. If you live according to nature, you will never be poor. If you live according to opinion, you will never be rich. Let us unravel this wisdom together, for it holds the key to a life adorned not with opulence, but with the richness of living in harmony with nature's subtle cadence. Nature, my astute companion, requires but meager sustenance. Its wants are a gentle breeze, whispering through the leaves of contentment. Contrast this with the voracious appetite of opinion, an insatiable hunger that craves without cease. Picture, if you will, a wealth so immense it dwarfs the aspirations of millionaires, a fantasy where gold is but a stepping stone, and opulence is draped around you like a regal garment. Yet, in this hypothetical abundance, observe closely the tendrils of desire. Does it not spiral into an endless abyss? The possessions once deemed opulent become mere stepping stones to loftier cravings. Statues and paintings, while exquisite, are but catalysts for the insatiable appetite of the misled mind. Let us ponder the notion of natural desires, modest and content, like a babbling brook meandering through the landscape of existence. Contrast this with the boundless cravings spawned by false opinions, a realm without boundaries, an aimless wandering akin to getting lost on an infinite road. Imagine, my friend, retracing your steps from the allure of idle pursuits. In this introspective journey, discern the nature of your desires. Can they find repose at some defined juncture, or do they perpetually stretch towards an elusive horizon? If, after traversing vast expanses, the distant goal remains ever elusive, take heed, for such yearnings stand contrary to the harmonious rhythms of nature. So, in the spirit of Epicurus, let us learn to discern the authentic desires rooted in nature from the illusory cravings that know no bounds. In this discernment, we may uncover the path to a life not defined by material excess, but enriched by the simplicity and contentment that only aligning with nature can bestow. On philosophy and riches. Dear seeker of wisdom, heed my counsel and untether yourself from the shackles of worldly concerns, for in your pursuit of true understanding lies the path to profound wisdom. Cast away the bonds that hinder your journey and strive, with unwavering determination, towards the sanctuary of a sound mind. You speak of estate and possessions, imagining them as safeguards against the looming specter of poverty. But, my friend, have you truly found the depth of the treasure you seek in philosophy? You acknowledge its importance, yet perhaps you do not fully grasp its multifaceted brilliance, its ability to weave through every aspect of existence. Listen to the whispering counsel of wisdom, for she shall guide you away from perpetual ledger-keeping. Your desire to stave off poverty may be well-intentioned, but have you considered that poverty itself can be a liberator? Riches, often, are the shackles that bind one from the pursuit of true knowledge. Poverty, on the other hand, is the unburdened wanderer, free from the weight of worldly cares. When the trumpet sounds or the cry of fire echoes, the poor man does not fear. He seeks escape, unencumbered by the burdens of excessive wealth. No retinue of slaves, no insatiable appetites for luxury. The poor man, content with fulfilling basic needs, finds simplicity in the absence of opulence. Why, then, reject philosophy as your companion in this journey? Even the wealthy, when in their senses, emulate her ways. If leisure for the mind is your desire, then either embrace poverty or adopt the demeanor of a humble soul. Study is a faithful ally only when paired with a simple existence, a life adorned with voluntary poverty. Discard the excuses that delay your immersion in philosophy. Do not say, I must amass wealth first, and then I shall devote myself wholly to wisdom. No, my friend, this ideal should be your foremost pursuit. Do not retort with a need to acquire something to live on, for true living is intertwined with learning. If circumstances dictate you cannot live nobly, at least allow nothing to prevent you from dying nobly. In this, philosophy becomes not just a pursuit but a way of life, an ethos to be embraced from the very beginning. Consider the resilience of those besieged in towns, enduring hunger to escape the clutches of conquerors. What reward did they reap, if not the preservation of their freedom? Now, envision a grander promise, a prize of everlasting liberty, an assurance that we need not cower before gods or men. Even in the face of starvation, the goal of enduring freedom beckons us. Armies, in their quests, have withstood all manner of want, surviving on roots and consuming sustenance too repulsive to describe. All this suffering was endured for the ephemeral gain of a kingdom that would eventually belong to another. Shall any hesitate to endure poverty to liberate the mind from the madness that plagues it? Do not rush to lay up riches as your first conquest, for the journey towards philosophy may be embarked upon even without the burden of wealth. Is it not so? Should wisdom be the last requisite in life, a mere supplement acquired after the accumulation of all other things? Nay, let your plan be different. Be a philosopher now, whether in possession of anything or not. For if you do have possessions, how do you know that you do not possess too much already? Seek understanding first, before anything else. But, you protest, I shall lack the necessities of life. In truth, you cannot lack them, for nature demands but little, and the wise man aligns his needs with nature. If the utmost pinch of need arrives, he will gracefully depart from life, freeing himself from troubles. If means are meager, he will make the best of them, finding contentment in the bare necessities, laughing at the bustling rich who hasten after wealth. With a free and happy spirit, the philosopher will declare, why postpone your real life to the distant future? Shall you wait for some interest to forward you, or for some income on your merchandise, or for a place in the will of some wealthy old man, when you can be rich here and now? Wisdom, the eternal benefactor, offers wealth in ready currency to those whose eyes she has liberated from the chains of material excess. allow me to close my musings with a borrowed gem from Epicurus. The acquisition of riches has been for many men, not an end, but a change of troubles. Indeed, the fault lies not in wealth, but in the mind itself. What made poverty a burden to us has also made riches burdensome. Just as it matters little whether a sick man rests on a wooden or golden bed, the diseased mind, whether bestowed upon riches or poverty, carries its malady with the man. On festivals and fasting, the month of December, when the city is caught in a fever, and the clamor of merrymaking drowns the air, a license for revelry is granted, and preparations echo mightily. Yet, my friend, does the Saturnalia truly differ from the mundane business day? A skeptic would affirm that once December was a month, now it is a year. If you were here with me, I would seek your counsel on whether we should adhere rigidly to our daily routine or, to align with the populace, indulge in livelier feasting and cast aside the toga. Romans, it seems, have exchanged their attire for the sake of pleasure and holiday making, a departure from the customs of yore when such shifts occurred only in times of civic turmoil and adversity. In your wisdom, I sense you would play the role of an umpire, urging moderation, neither entirely assimilating with the liberty-capped throng nor standing aloof. Perhaps this season demands that we instruct our souls to stand alone, resisting the allure of excess pleasures, showcasing our constancy when the masses succumb. Courage lies not in joining the drunken, vomiting mob, but in remaining dry and sober. Greater self-control is demonstrated by refusing to withdraw and partaking in festivities differently, neither conspicuous nor a conformist. One can keep holiday without extravagance. I am resolute, my dear friend, in testing the constancy of your mind. Drawing from the teachings of great men, I impart this lesson. Set aside days when you content yourself with the scantiest fare and coarse attire. Say to yourself, is this the condition I feared? It is in times of ease that the soul should steel itself for greater stresses, fortifying against the capriciousness of fortune. Soldiers perform maneuvers in times of peace, preparing for the inevitable challenges. If you desire a steadfast spirit in times of crisis, train beforehand, mimic the wise who, in their imitation of poverty, have almost approached once each month, ensuring they never flinch when confronted with what they have repeatedly rehearsed. I do not speak of grand banquets like those of Timon or the simulated poverty of luxurious millionaires. Let the palate be real, the cloak coarse, and the bread hard and grimy. Endure this for days at a time, transforming it into a test rather than a mere hobby. Then, my dear Lucilius, you will leap for joy when filled with a humble morsel, understanding that a man's peace of mind transcends the whims of fortune. In the grand theatre of existence, my dear Lucilius, do not harbor the illusion that your actions are extraordinary. You will merely tread the path that many thousands of slaves and countless destitute souls traverse every single day. However, credit yourself with this. Your journey won't be under duress, and you shall endure it as effortlessly in perpetuity as when experimenting from time to time. Let us practice our strokes on life's dummy, familiarize ourselves with poverty, so that fortune may never catch us off guard. We shall find richness all the more comfortable once we grasp how far poverty is from being a burden. Even Epicurus, the maestro of pleasure, observed set intervals where he satisfied his hunger with frugality. He sought to discern whether this practice compromised complete happiness, and if so, by what margin. Did this margin merit the exorbitant cost? He boasted that he himself thrived on less than a penny, while Metrodorus, still on the journey, required a whole penny. Can one find fullness on such meager fare? Indeed, And there lies pleasure, not the capricious and fleeting pleasure that demands constant stimuli, but a steadfast and enduring pleasure. Water, barley meal, and crusts of barley bread might not constitute a joyful banquet, yet deriving pleasure from such fare, and reducing one's needs to a modicum impervious to fortune's whims, is the highest form of pleasure. Even the fare in prison is more generous, and those awaiting capital punishment are not subjected to such meanness by their executioner. What nobility of soul it takes to willingly embrace a diet that even those sentenced to death need not fear. This is truly anticipating fortune's thrusts. So, my dear Lucilius, commence following the custom of these men. Dedicate certain days when you shall withdraw from the hustle of your affairs and acquaint yourself intimately with the most meager fare. Establish a business relationship with poverty. Dare, O my friend, to scorn the sight of wealth, and mold thyself to kinship with thy God. For one is in kinship with God who has spurned wealth. Possess it if you must, but reach the point where you possess it dauntlessly. Convince yourself that happiness can be found without it just as readily as with it, considering riches as perpetually elusive. Now, I must fold up my letter. Settle your debts first, you implore. Here is a draft on Epicurus, and he shall settle the sum. Ungoverned anger begets madness. These words are not foreign to you, for you've had not only slaves but also enemies. This emotion ignites against all manner of individuals, born from both love and hate, surfacing not only in serious matters, but also in jest and sport. The magnitude of the provocation matters not. It is the nature of the soul it infiltrates. Like fire, it does not care about the size of the flame, but the material it alights upon. Solid timbers have repelled mighty fires, while dry and inflammable materials have ignited from the smallest spark. So it is with anger, my dear Lucilius. The offspring of intense anger is madness, and thus, anger should be shunned not solely to avoid excess, but to maintain a healthy mind, unworldliness and retirement. Receiving missives from you, my friend, fills me with unbridled joy. They transcend mere assurances and become veritable guarantees, instilling hope in me. I earnestly entreat you to persist in this direction, for what nobler plea can I make of a friend than one that redounds to his own benefit? If feasible, disentangle yourself from the myriad affairs that enthrall you, and if extrication proves elusive, summon the courage to tear yourself away. We've squandered enough of our time navigating life's tumultuous seas. Let our twilight years witness the commencement of packing our metaphorical baggage. Men can harbor no resentment towards our decision. We've traversed life's turbulent waters. Let us conclude our journey in the tranquility of the harbor. I don't counsel you to seek fame through your retirement. It need not be flaunted nor concealed. Concealment, I say, not to the extent of expecting you to deem all humanity mad and then retreat into seclusion, but rather let your retirement be unobtrusive, though perceptible. Furthermore, while those unhindered from the outset ponder whether they wish to lead lives in obscurity, your circumstances offer no such freedom. Your prowess and vigor have thrust you into the throes of worldly affairs, augmented by the allure of your writings and associations with illustrious figures. Renown has seized you. You may attempt to plunge into obscurity, but the remnants of your former brilliance will trail you wherever you go. You cannot lurk in the shadows indefinitely. The radiance of your past will pursue you, like an indomitable echo. Claim peace for yourself without incurring anyone's disfavor, without a sense of deprivation, and without spiritual pangs. What will you leave behind that you deem difficult to part with? Your clients. Yet none of them seeks you for your essence. They seek only what you can provide. Once, people sought friends. Now, they pursue riches. Should a solitary old man revise his will, the morning caller swiftly relocates. Great things cannot be procured for trifling sums. Reflect on whether it's more advantageous to relinquish your true self for merely some possessions. Would that you had the privilege of aging amid the modest circumstances of your origins, free from the trappings of fortune that elevated you so. Swift ascension brought you far from the realm of wholesome living, your province, your position as procurator, and all the promises that such distinctions hold. More significant duties await you, ad infinitum. What shall ensue? Why wait until there's nothing left to desire? That time shall never arrive. Just as fate is woven from a succession of causes, similarly, there's a succession in our desires. You've been thrust into an existence that, of its own accord, will not terminate your wretchedness and enslavement. Extricate your chafed neck from the yoke. It is preferable to sever it once and for all than endure perpetual gall. Should you choose to retreat to seclusion, everything will be on a smaller scale, yet your satisfaction will abound. In your current state, there's no contentment in the plethora that surrounds you. Would you prefer to be poor and sated or rich and hungry? Prosperity is not merely insatiable. It's also exposed to the avarice of others. And as long as nothing satiates you, you, in turn, cannot satiate others. But, you interject, how can I take my leave? In any way you please. Reflect on the numerous risks undertaken for the sake of wealth and the toil expended for a title. Dare to undertake something to gain leisure, or else age amid the anxieties of procuratorships abroad and subsequent civil duties at home, immersed in turmoil and an unceasing deluge of responsibilities, a fate no one has ever eluded through unobtrusiveness or a secluded life. What relevance does your personal desire for a secluded life have on the case? Your worldly position desires the opposite. What if, even now, you permit that position to grow greater? But all that's added to your triumphs will be added to your fears. Here, I'm reminded of a saying from Maecenas, who spoke the truth from the very summit. There's thunder even on the loftiest peaks. Although found in the volume titled Prometheus, Maecenas simply meant that these towering peaks have their summits shrouded in thunderstorms. Is any power worth such a high price that a person of your caliber would resort to a debased style for its attainment? Maecenas, a man of great talents, might have left an illustrious baton for Roman oratory if good fortune hadn't rendered him effeminate, nay, emasculated him. A similar fate awaits you unless you promptly shorten sail and, unlike Maecenas, hug the shore. While Maecenas' saying might have settled my account with you, I'm confident, knowing you, that you'll file an injunction against me, unwilling to accept payment in such crude and debased currency. Regardless, I shall draw from the account of Epicurus, who says, you must reflect carefully beforehand with whom you are to eat and drink, rather than what you are to eat and drink. For a dinner of meats without the company of a friend is like the life of a lion or a wolf. This privilege won't be yours unless you withdraw from the world. Otherwise, your guests will be those sorted out by your slave secretary from the throng of callers. It's an error to choose a friend in the reception hall or test them at the dinner table. A serious misfortune for a busy man overwhelmed by possessions is believing others to be friends when he himself isn't, and thinking his favors are effective in winning friends, when, in certain cases, the more they owe, the more they hate. A trifling debt makes a man your debtor. A large one makes him an enemy. What about kindnesses establishing friendships? You inquire. They do, if one has the privilege of choosing recipients judiciously instead of scattering them indiscriminately. Hence, while you're beginning to reclaim your mind, apply this wisdom from the sage. Consider that it's more important who receives a thing than what it is they receive. On practicing what you preach, If you find yourself in good health and deem yourself worthy of finally becoming your own master, I rejoice. The credit will be mine if I can pull you from the relentless torrents that buffet you, leaving you without hope of emerging. But, dear Lucilius, I implore you, let wisdom seep into your soul, and measure your progress not by mere words or writings, but by the strength of your heart and the waning of your desires. Validate your words through your deeds. The pursuits of those who craft speeches to win the applause of crowds differ vastly from those who captivate the ears of the young and idle with multifaceted or eloquent arguments. Philosophy instructs us to act, not to speak. It demands that every individual live according to their own principles, ensuring that their life is not at odds with their words, and, furthermore, that their inner life is consistent and harmonious with all their activities. This, I assert, is the loftiest duty and the supreme proof of wisdom, that deed and word should be in harmony, that a person should remain true to themselves under all circumstances and always be consistent. But, you counter, who can uphold such a standard? Very few, to be sure, but they exist. It is indeed a formidable undertaking, and I don't claim that the philosopher can always maintain the same pace. However, he can consistently travel the same path. Examine yourself, then, and ascertain whether your dress and your home are incongruent, whether you treat yourself generously and your family frugally, whether you dine sparingly yet construct luxurious dwellings. You should embrace a single standard to live by and regulate your entire life accordingly. Some individuals restrain themselves at home but flaunt ostentation in public. Such discordance is a flaw, indicating a vacillating mind unable to maintain its equilibrium. Moreover, the origin of this instability and disharmony between action and purpose arises from the fact that no one decides what they truly desire, and even if they do, they fail to persist but veer off course. They not only change but also revert, slipping back into the conduct they had forsaken. Thus, to forego the ancient definitions of wisdom and encompass the entire manner of human life, I find satisfaction in the following. What is wisdom? Always desiring the same things and always refusing the same things. You may be excused from adding the little proviso that what you wish should be right, as no one can be consistently satisfied with the same thing unless it is right. Men often don't know what they truly wish for, except at the precise moment of desiring it. No one ever decides once and for all to desire or to refuse. Judgment varies daily, oscillating between opposites, turning life into a kind of game. So, persevere as you have begun. Perhaps you will attain perfection or reach a point just shy of perfection, which only you understand. But what, you wonder, will become of my bustling household without an income? If you cease supporting that multitude, it will find a way to sustain itself. Perhaps through the bounty of poverty, you will learn what eludes you through your own affluence. Poverty will preserve your true and tested friends, ridding you of those who sought you not for yourself, but for something you possessed. Is it not true that you should embrace poverty, if only for this single reason: it reveals those who truly love you? Oh, when will the time arrive when no one tells lies to flatter you? Therefore, let your thoughts, efforts, and desires lead you to contentment with yourself and the goods that spring forth from within. Entrust all your other prayers to God. What happiness could come closer to home? Embrace humble conditions from which you cannot be ejected. To encourage you in this, the contribution in this letter shall speak directly to that subject. Consider it bestowed upon you forthwith. Even if you cast a skeptical glance, Epicurus, my old friend, will happily square my debt with these words. Trust me, your pronouncements gain more weight when you rest on a cot and wear tattered rags. In doing so, You won't merely articulate them. You'll be illustrating their truth. Personally, I lend a different ear to the wisdom of our comrade Demetrius after I've witnessed him reclining without even a cloak to shield him, and, beyond that, sans any rugs beneath him. He's not just a preacher of truth, but a living testament to it. But can't a man despise wealth when it's right in his pocket? Certainly. He, too, is magnanimous, who gazes upon riches piled around him, and after pondering their sudden presence, smiles, perceiving more through his years than his touch that they are his own. There's much to be said for not being spoiled by familiarity with wealth, and true greatness lies in being poor amidst affluence. Yes, but I'm uncertain, you argue, how the man you're describing will endure poverty if it befalls him suddenly. Epicurus, I, too, cannot predict whether the impoverished man you mention would scorn riches should they suddenly embrace him. Therefore, in both cases, it's the mind that must be examined. We must inquire if your man finds joy in his poverty, and if mine is discontented with his wealth. Otherwise, the cot bed and the rags offer meager evidence of good intentions if it's not clear that the individual endures these trials by choice, not necessity. But it is the sign of a noble spirit not to thrust oneself into such circumstances on the belief that they are better, but to practice for them as they are easily endured. And they are easy to endure, Lucilius, when, however, you approach them after prolonged rehearsal. They become even enjoyable, for they carry a sense of liberation from care, and without this, nothing is pleasurable. Therefore, I consider it imperative to heed my earlier advice. Follow the example of great men who have reserved a few days to prepare for genuine poverty through simulated deprivation. There's added reason to do so because we've been steeped in luxury, and every duty seems burdensome and arduous to us. It's high time to rouse the soul from its slumber, prod it, and remind it that nature has prescribed very little for us. No one is born rich. Every individual, upon first glimpsing the light, is enjoined to be content with milk and rags. Such is our starting point, and yet kingdoms appear too small for us. On the renown which my writings will bring you, do you perceive that you are entangled with those individuals about whom you corresponded with me? Your paramount struggle lies within yourself. You are your own impediment. The dilemma is not knowing your true desires. You excel at acknowledging the right path but falter in traversing it. You recognize where genuine happiness resides, yet lack the audacity to attain it. Allow me to unveil the obstacle hindering you, as you may not discern it yourself. You mistakenly believe that the current state you contemplate abandoning holds significance. Once resolved to transition into the envisioned realm of serenity, you are restrained by the brilliance of your present existence, as if plunging into it would lead to filth and darkness. This is a misconception, Lucilius. The shift from your current life to the other is a promotion. The distinction between these two lives mirrors the contrast between mere brightness and authentic light. The former borrows its radiance, dependent on external illumination, susceptible to casting a dense shadow when an intermediary stands between the source and the object. The latter possesses a glow emanating from within. It is your intellectual pursuits that will make you shine and elevate you. Permit me to share the example of Epicurus. In a missive to Idomeneus, he endeavored to redirect him from a flashy existence to a resolute and enduring renown. Idomeneus, a minister of state wielding rigorous authority with weighty affairs in hand, was the subject. Epicurus asserted, "If you desire fame, my letters will confer upon you more renown than all the things you cherish and that make you cherished." Did Epicurus speak untruths? Idomeneus might have remained unknown if the philosopher had not engraved his name in those letters. Even grandees, satraps, and the king himself, whom Idomeneus petitioned for the sought title, have descended into profound oblivion. Cicero's letters preserved Atticus from fading into obscurity. Despite Atticus having Agrippa as a son-in-law, Tiberius as the husband of his granddaughter, and Drusus Caesar as a great-grandson among powerful names, his own name would have withered away if not bound to Cicero. The vast river of time will sweep over us. A few eminent individuals will rise above, resisting the pull of oblivion and maintaining their standing for a considerable period. I pledge to you, Lucilius, what Epicurus vowed to his friend. I shall find favor in the eyes of future generations, carrying with me names enduring as long as mine. As our poet Virgil pledged eternal names to two heroes, so do I promise. Blessed heroes twain, if power my song possess, the record of your names shall never be erased from out the book of time, while yet Aeneas' tribe shall keep the capital, that rock immovable, and Roman sire shall empire hold. Whenever individuals are thrust into prominence by fortune, becoming entwined with another's influence, they may enjoy abundant favor and a crowded house as long as they maintain their position. However, once they depart from this position, they swiftly slip from the memory of others. In the case of inherent ability, the respect it commands grows. Not only does honor accrue to the individual, but whatever has affixed itself to their memory is passed on from one generation to another. To ensure that Idomeneus does not enter my letter without contributing, he shall settle the debt from his own account. Epicurus directed a well-known saying to him, urging him to enrich Pythocles, not in the common and ambiguous way. If you wish, said Epicurus, to make Pythocles rich, do not add to his store of money but subtract from his desires. This notion is self-evident and astute enough not to require explication or reinforcement. However, I must caution you not to assume that this statement applies solely to wealth. Its value remains consistent, regardless of its application. If you wish to make Pythocles honorable, do not add to his honors but subtract from his desires. If you wish Pythocles to have everlasting pleasure, do not add to his pleasures but subtract from his desires. If you wish to make Pythocles a fulfilled old man, do not add to his years but subtract from his desires. There is no need to attribute these words exclusively to Epicurus. They belong to the public domain. I propose that in philosophy, as in the Senate, when someone makes a motion, I approve to a certain extent. I request that they present their motion in two parts, and I support the part I find agreeable. I am pleased to reiterate the distinguished words of Epicurus to demonstrate that those who turn to him with ill motives, thinking him a cover for their vices, must live honorably regardless of their philosophical school. Visit his garden and read the inscription carved there. Stranger, here you will do well to tarry. Here our highest good is pleasure. The caretaker of the abode, a gracious host, will be prepared for you. He will greet you with barley meal and serve abundant water, saying, have you not been well entertained? This garden does not stimulate your appetite. It quenches it. It does not make you thirstier with each drink. It satisfies thirst through a natural cure, a cure that demands no fee. This is the pleasure in which I have grown old. In our conversation, however, I refer to those desires that resist alleviation, that must be bribed into cessation. Regarding exceptional desires, which may be deferred, tempered, and restrained, I have this thought to share. Such pleasure aligns with our nature but does not align with our needs. It owes us nothing. Whatever is expended on it is a voluntary offering. The belly is an intractable creditor, making demands and importuning. Yet, it is not a troublesome creditor. You can send it away at a modest cost, provided you give it what you owe, not merely all you are capable of giving. on the futility of halfway measures. By now, you grasp the necessity of disentangling yourself from those ostentatious and morally bankrupt pursuits. However, the practical steps for accomplishing this may not be fully elucidated in writing alone. A physician cannot prescribe the appropriate time for eating or bathing through a letter. They must feel the pulse. There's an old saying about gladiators planning their fight in the ring. They discern subtle warnings in the adversary's glance, movements of the hand, or even slight shifts in the body. While we can formulate general rules and commit them to writing about what is typically done or ought to be done, practical advice on when or how to execute your plan cannot be dispensed from afar. You must not only be physically present, but vigilant in mind to seize the fleeting opportunity. Look around for that chance. When you spot it, seize it with all your energy and strength. Devote yourself entirely to the task of freeing yourself from those business duties. Now, pay close attention to the counsel I offer. My opinion is that you should withdraw either from that kind of existence or existence altogether. However, I also suggest taking a gentle path, loosening rather than abruptly cutting the badly tied knot unless cutting it becomes the only viable option. No one is so faint-hearted that they would prefer perpetual suspense to dropping once and for all. Nevertheless, and this is crucial, do not burden yourself. Content yourself with the business you've entangled yourself in, or, as you prefer others to believe, tumbled into. There's no need to strive for something more. Doing so will eliminate any grounds for excuse, and people will see that it wasn't a mere stumble. The typical explanation men provide is Floyd. I was compelled to do it. Suppose it was against my will. I had to do it. Yet, no one is compelled to pursue prosperity at breakneck speed. There's value in calling a halt, even if one doesn't actively resist, instead of fervently chasing after favorable fortune. If I not only come to advise you, but also bring in others wiser heads than mine to offer counsel, will you be displeased with me? Read Epicurus's letter on this matter, addressed to Idomeneus. He urges a swift retreat before a stronger influence intervenes and robs one of the liberty to withdraw. However, he emphasizes attempting nothing except at the opportune time. When the long-awaited occasion arises, be ready to act. Epicurus cautions against dozing while contemplating escape. Hope for a safe release from even the toughest trials, provided you are neither too hasty before the time or too sluggish when the time comes. Now, you might be anticipating a stoic motto. There's no reason to slander that school for rashness. In fact, its caution often surpasses its courage. The sect may indeed advise you with words like, "It is base to flinch under a burden. Wrestle with the duties you've undertaken. No man is brave and earnest if he avoids danger. His spirit must grow with the difficulty of his task." But such advice holds true only if your perseverance pursues a worthwhile goal, and if you won't have to do or suffer anything unworthy of a good man. A good man will not squander himself on mean or discreditable work or busy himself just for the sake of busyness. Nor will he become entangled in ambitious schemes that subject him to continual ebbs and flows. When he perceives the dangers and uncertainties in which he was previously tossed about, he will withdraw, not turning his back to the foe, but retreating gradually to a secure position. Escaping from business, my dear Lucilius, is straightforward if you despise the rewards it offers. We are held back from escaping by thoughts like these. What then? Shall I leave behind these great prospects? Shall I depart at the very time of harvest? Shall I have no slaves at my side? No retinue for my litter? No crowd in my reception room? People leave such advantages with reluctance. They love the rewards of their hardships but curse the hardships themselves. Men voice complaints about their ambitions akin to how they lament their relationships. When you delve into their true sentiments, you'll discover not hatred but quarreling, Examine the minds of those who denounce what they once desired, who speak of escaping things they cannot do without, and you'll realize they willingly linger in situations they claim to find hard and wretched to endure. Dear Lucilius, it is so. A few are held fast by slavery, but many more hold fast to slavery. If, however, your intent is to rid yourself of this slavery, if freedom genuinely appeals to you, and if you seek counsel solely to achieve this purpose without perpetual annoyance, how can the entire assembly of Stoic thinkers not approve your course? Zeno, Chrysippus, and their ilk will provide you with advice that is temperate, honorable, and fitting. Yet, if you persist in looking back, assessing how much you can carry away, and calculating how much money you can retain to equip yourself for a life of leisure, you'll never find a way out. No one can swim ashore and take baggage along. Rise to a higher life, with the favor of the gods, but let it not be a favor akin to the gods' benevolence when, with kind faces, they bestow magnificent tills, justified by the one fact that the things that irritate and torture have been granted in response to prayer. As I was sealing this letter, I had to break the seal once again so that it could reach you with its customary contribution, carrying a noble word. Here's one that comes to mind, and I don't know whether its truth or the nobility of its expression is more profound. Spoken by whom? You ask. By Epicurus. For I am still appropriating other men's belongings. The words are, everyone goes out of life just as if he had but lately entered it. Take anyone off guard, young, old, or middle-aged, and you'll find that all are equally afraid of death and equally ignorant of life. No one has anything finished, as we've kept putting off into the future all our undertakings. No thought in the quotation pleases me more than that which taunts old men with being infants. No one, he says, leaves this world differently from one who has just been born. That is not true, for we are worse when we die than when we were born. However, it is our fault, not nature's. Nature should scold us, saying, "What does this mean? I brought you into the world without desires or fears, free from superstition, treachery, and the other curses. Go forth as you were when you entered." A person has grasped the essence of wisdom if they can die as free from care as they were at birth. But as it is, we all flutter at the approach of the dreaded end. Courage fails, cheeks blanch, and tears fall, though they are unavailing. What is baser than fretting at the very threshold of peace? The reason, however, is that we are stripped of all our goods. We have jettisoned our cargo of life and are in distress. No part of it has been packed in the hold. It has all been heaved overboard and drifted away. Men do not care how nobly they live, only how long, although every man can live nobly, yet no man has the power to live long.